to keep your morality, but to anchor it in power, to appear gentle, but to be ready to strike, to use goodness when it strengthens you, and abandon it when it weakens you. And once you begin to see through this illusion, a transformation begins within you. You start to understand that true power is not in being loved, but in being unshakable. That is where the necessity of ruthlessness emerges. Ruthlessness, the very word makes most people uncomfortable. They imagine cruelty, heartlessness, or malice. But that's not what Machiavelli meant when he spoke of the ruthless. His idea of ruthlessness was not born from hatred. It was born from necessity. The world, he observed, does not reward the pure. It rewards the prepared. It does not favor the gentle. It favors the decisive. To survive in a world of deception, betrayal, and ambition, one must learn to act with clarity. Even when that clarity looks cold to those still blinded by illusion, ruthlessness is the art of seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. Most people hesitate when life demands action. They stall, they doubt, they wait for permission. They ask themselves, what will people think? Or is this the right time? While opportunities slip through their fingers like sand, Machiavelli would tell you that hesitation is the silent killer of potential. Every time you pause to seek moral comfort before acting, someone more ruthless steps forward and takes what could have been yours. The world belongs to those who dare to move when others freeze. The ruthless understand something the kind often forget. Power is never gentle. It is forged through confrontation, through choices that others fear to make. The ability to act decisively, to cut off weakness, to end what no longer serves you, to move without apology, is what separates those who lead from those who follow. Life is not a court of justice, it is a battlefield of strategy. The world does not care whether you intended well, it only recognizes whether you acted effectively. To become ruthless in the Machiavellian sense is to master yourself first. It means silencing the voice that tells you to wait for fairness. The ruthless do not seek revenge, they seek control. They do not rage, they reposition. Their silence is not weakness, it is calculation. And in that silence they are rebuilding their power, waiting for the perfect moment to move again. In truth, ruthlessness is the only armor that can protect purity from being corrupted. Without it, even the kindest soul will eventually be destroyed by the cruelty of others. Machiavelli never encouraged evil. He simply demanded that goodness learn how to defend itself. To be ruthless is to have the courage to do what must be done, even when it is unpleasant, even when it earns you the hatred of the weak. It is to see clearly, act decisively, and never apologize for survival. And when you truly understand this, when you accept that ruthlessness is not brutality but mastery, you begin to see the deeper law of the world. That power is not given, it is taken. Power is not gifted. It is not granted by the kind, nor inherited by the deserving. It is taken, seized by those who dare to claim it while others are waiting for permission. Machiavelli observed that men spend their lives hoping for fairness, hoping for recognition, hoping for the world to reward their virtue. But the world does not reward virtue. It rewards movement. It bows not to morality, but to mastery. To believe that power will come to you because you are good, loyal, or hard-working is the greatest delusion of all. Power is not drawn to virtue, it is drawn to dominance. Those who rise in this world understand something that most never will. Power is created through decisive action and psychological control. It demands the strength to lead when others hesitate, the courage to take when others ask, and the vision to see opportunity in the very place others see impossibility. Machiavelli would tell you that fortune favors those who act, not those who wait. Inaction is submission dressed as patience, and every time you hesitate, every time you second-guess yourself, you hand your power to someone else who is less qualified but more willing to take it. You must understand that in the realm of human nature, power has no morality. It is neither good nor evil. It simply exists, waiting for someone strong enough to wield it. The weak see power as corruption because they have never held it. The strong see power as survival because they understand what happens when it is lost. To Machiavelli, the world was not a place of fairness but of hierarchy, and hierarchy is decided not by kindness but by control. Those who hold power are rarely the ones who were chosen. They are the ones who chose themselves. They impose their will upon a world that constantly tries to restrain them. They do not wait for opportunity, they manufacture it. They do not seek permission, they command attention. They are driven not by chance, but by necessity. Because once you realize that the world will not hand you power willingly, you begin to see that taking it is not arrogance, it is survival. Power begins with perception. Before it can be taken in the physical world, it must first be seized in the mind. You must train yourself to think beyond the limits that ordinary people accept as truth. Most people are enslaved not by others, but by their own self-doubt. They believe they are powerless because they have been conditioned to obey. From birth, you are taught to follow, to please, to conform. You are told that ambition is arrogance and that dominance is wrong. But these are the words of those who benefit from your submission. They fear the moment you realize that your obedience keeps their throne secure. Machiavelli taught that the first step toward true power is self-reliance. The moment you stop expecting others to save you, you begin to save yourself. The world belongs to the self-sufficient, the ones who create their own stability, their own influence, their own path. Power is not about controlling others for the sake of ego. It is about freeing yourself from being controlled. It is about becoming so stable that no betrayal, no loss, and no rejection can unseat you from your place of strength. And yet, this pursuit of power requires sacrifice. You cannot climb while clinging to the comfort of weakness. You must be willing to lose what no longer serves your rise, be it people, habits, or beliefs. To seize power means to outgrow dependence, to detach from approval, to stop apologizing for wanting more. The world will call you ruthless for this, but Machiavelli would call it discipline. Those who lack ambition call others selfish. Those who have failed call success corruption. The opinions of the powerless are simply the cries of those who fear to rise. When you step into power, you begin to notice something extraordinary. People start to treat you differently. They listen more closely. They doubt you less. They sense your certainty and adjust their behavior around it. This is the invisible law of dominance. Confidence is authority. You need not shout, threaten, or boast. True power is quiet, deliberate, and precise. It moves through presence, not noise. The man who truly holds power has no need to prove it. His calmness speaks louder than any declaration. Machiavelli understood that power must be maintained as carefully as it is gained. The same strength that elevates you will attract envy, resistance, and challenge. But power, when guided by intelligence, does not fear opposition. It uses it. The strong turn conflict into momentum. Every attempt to pull them down only sharpens their resolve. That is why power and ruthlessness are inseparable. Without the ability to act without hesitation, to detach from emotion, to make the difficult decision, power decays, it softens, and once it softens, it is taken. Power, then, is not merely a position, it is a state of mind. It is built on awareness, control, and the courage to act without waiting for the world's approval. It requires patience to plan, perception to anticipate, and precision to strike. It is the art of seeing 10 steps ahead, while others are still caught in the present. Power is maintained by those who think like rulers even before they are crowned. And when you grasp this truth, when you begin to see that the world bends to those who refuse to bend first, you understand that to remain powerful, one must master the final art, the art of emotional detachment. Emotional detachment is not the absence of feeling, it is the mastery of it. Most people are enslaved by their emotions without realizing it. They call it passion, loyalty, or love, but in truth it is dependency. They are pulled like puppets by every insult, every opinion, every failure, and every fleeting praise. Machiavelli saw this weakness clearly. He knew that the man who cannot command his emotions will eventually be commanded by someone who can. The world belongs not to the emotional but to the composed, to those who can remain unshaken when everyone else is losing control. You see, emotions are the most powerful weapon ever used against man. Empires have fallen because of pride, alliances have been destroyed by jealousy, and great men have lost their thrones to the seduction of comfort. The world does not need to defeat you with force. It only needs to make you feel too much. It only needs to make you react. The moment you react impulsively, you give away your power. The moment you allow anger, fear, or desire to decide for you, you stop ruling yourself and start being ruled. Machiavelli believed that the true strength of a leader lies not in his army, but in his ability to control his temperament. A calm mind is more dangerous than any weapon because it cannot be provoked. It sees through deception. It dissects manipulation. It moves with purpose, While others are blinded by chaos, when everyone else burns with rage or panic, the emotionally detached remain still, and that stillness is mistaken for mystery, but it is really control. In silence, they gather information. In patience, they prepare their strike. Emotional detachment is the art of self-preservation. It means no longer allowing others to dictate how you feel. People will test you. They will provoke you to react because reaction reveals weakness. But when you remain calm, you strip them of power. You confuse them. They expect fire and receive stone. They expect outrage and receive silence. That silence makes them nervous because it shows that you cannot be controlled. The more unpredictable your emotions are, the easier you are to manipulate, the more stable you become, the harder you are to defeat. To master detachment, you must first learn to observe your emotions as if they belong to someone else. Anger rises. Observe it. Fear whispers. Listen to it, but do not obey. Love tempts you to ignore reason. Feel it, but stay aware. Detachment does not mean you stop caring, it means you stop being consumed. You can still feel deeply, but you act deliberately. You no longer confuse feeling with decision-making. That separation is the essence of power. Most people are addicted to their emotions because emotions give them identity. They feel alive when they rage, when they cry, when they love without restraint. But Machiavelli would tell you, that kind of life burns fast and dies young. The powerful, the truly great minds channel emotion. They don't drown in it. They use anger as fuel, not as fire. They use disappointment as data, not as despair. Every emotion becomes information, and information is the foundation of strategy. Emotional detachment also frees you from the chains of other people's validation. Praise no longer intoxicates you, and criticism no longer wounds you. The opinions of others become irrelevant because you no longer derive your identity from external noise. You act not to please, but to progress. You no longer chase the fleeting comfort of approval because you've learned that the same people who cheer you today will crucify you tomorrow if it serves their interests. Machiavelli warned rulers never to depend on the affection of the crowd, for it changes with the wind. Better to command respect through steadiness than to seek love through fragility. Detachment gives birth to a new form of confidence, the kind that cannot be faked. It is not loud, not boastful, but quiet and deliberate. It comes from knowing that nothing outside of you has the power to destroy you unless you allow it. You stop taking things personally because you understand that most people act out of their own weakness, not because of yours. When insulted, you no longer defend. You observe. When betrayed, you no longer crumble. You calculate. When tested, you no longer beg for peace. You decide when and how it will be restored. That is the mindset of someone who has transcended emotional slavery. To detach emotionally is to become untouchable. You begin to see the patterns of human behavior like a chessboard, predictable, repetitive, and exploitable. You understand that people are driven by fear and desire, and once you master both within yourself, you can read them in others. The one who controls emotion, his own and others, controls the flow of power itself. That is why the most dangerous men in history were not the loud or impulsive, but the calm and calculating. Yet detachment is not coldness, it is balance. A cold heart cannot lead, but a controlled one can command nations. The detached mind feels everything but chooses what to express. It is the same balance found in a general who can mourn his soldiers yet still order an attack. It is the balance of the ruler, who can forgive without forgetting, who can show mercy without appearing weak. Detachment allows you to be human without being enslaved by humanity's chaos. When you reach this level of control, the noise of the world begins to fade. The opinions, the insults, the distractions, they lose their grip. You begin to move with quiet authority, seeing life not as a series of emotional reactions, but as a series of strategic decisions. You stop being a participant in the chaos and become the architect of your own fate. And that is when you truly become unbreakable, because the world cannot wound a man who no longer bleeds for its approval. It cannot destroy someone who has learned to master both mind and emotion. It can only watch in confusion as you rise calmly above the storms that drown others, walking through fire with a steady gaze, untouched, unmoved, and entirely in command of yourself. The world will always test the strength of your spirit. It will disguise its cruelty behind smiles, its betrayal behind promises, and its control behind morality. Most will crumble under the weight of this deception because they spend their lives trying to be good in a world that rewards only the strong. But Machiavelli's wisdom cuts through illusion. He teaches that survival is not granted to the pure, but to the prepared. To endure, you must evolve beyond the illusions that keep others weak. You must see that kindness without boundaries becomes exploitation, that morality without strength becomes manipulation, and that love without control becomes bondage. The world does not pity the gentle. It consumes them, yet it bows before those who learn to move with intelligence, restraint, and power. Becoming ruthless is not about cruelty. It is about clarity. It is about knowing when to act and when to wait, when to forgive and when to forget, when to strike and when to disappear. It is the discipline to protect your peace, the wisdom to preserve your strength, and the courage to live by your own design rather than by society's expectations. Power is not taken through force alone. It is sustained through mastery of the mind. The man who can rule himself no longer needs to rule others. His presence commands authority without effort. His silence carries weight. His restraint breeds respect. He walks through a chaotic world untouched because he understands what few ever will, that to master life, you must first master yourself. So let the world do what it does best. Test, deceive, betray. You will not break. Because now you know the secret Machiavelli left for those willing to see beyond illusion, that true strength lies not in being loved, but in being unshakable, that the world will always try to break you, but once you become ruthless it never can. The world will break you the moment it senses you're soft, but those who learn to become ruthless, calm, calculating, untouchable, are the ones the world begins to fear. Stay with me till the end, because Machiavelli's truth will not comfort you. It will awaken you. The world you live in worships an illusion called goodness. Society teaches you that to be kind is to be virtuous, that to forgive endlessly is to be noble, and that to turn the other cheek is the highest form of strength. But Machiavelli would tell you this: such ideas were never created to empower you. They were designed to control you, because in a world ruled by wolves, those who refuse to bare their teeth are destined to become prey. You are told that goodness is its own reward, but the world doesn't pay in rewards, it pays in power, and power never bends to the gentle. Most people wear their kindness like a badge, proudly displayed to gain acceptance, but beneath that badge lies quiet desperation. They hope that by being good, they will be spared from cruelty, betrayal, or deceit. But this is the first great illusion of life. Those who seek to be good in all things soon find themselves surrounded by those who use that goodness as a weapon against them. The kind man becomes the easiest to deceive, the easiest to manipulate, the easiest to break. His virtue becomes his prison. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he said, "A man who wishes to be good at all times will come to ruin among so many who are not good." What he meant is that morality, though beautiful in theory, becomes dangerous in practice when it blinds you to the reality of human nature. You believe that honesty, mercy, and compassion will protect you, yet, in truth, they make you predictable, and what is predictable can be controlled. Look around you. The ambitious, the cunning, the powerful. They are not bound by the same moral illusions. They wear masks, they adapt, they bend truth to their advantage. They smile while plotting, they promise while preparing to betray, and yet the world bows before them. Why? Because they understand that morality is a tool, not a commandment. They use it to disarm others, not to restrain themselves. The weak believe that the world operates by fairness, but Machiavelli knew that fairness exists only in stories told to children. Reality operates by dominance. The weak give, the strong take. The weak obey, the strong command. The weak hope for peace, the strong create it, on their terms. And so long as you cling to the illusion that being good will protect you, you remain trapped in a cycle of submission. It is not that goodness itself is evil. It is that pure goodness without strategy is suicide. To survive in this world, you must learn to see beyond appearances. Behind every polite smile there lies calculation. Behind every generous hand there lies a motive. People pretend to act in your favor, but often they only serve themselves. You must learn to see the truth beneath the surface, to recognize that kindness often conceals ambition, and virtue often disguises manipulation. Those who thrive are those who have learned to balance morality with strategy. They know when to appear merciful and when to strike without hesitation. They understand that being feared and respected is safer than being loved and ignored. They do not seek approval. They seek control. They do not serve emotion. They serve purpose. That is the difference between those who survive and those who are consumed. You see, the illusion of goodness is the sweetest poison. It gives you comfort while it drains your strength. You feel morally superior. Yet internally, you grow weaker with every compromise you make in the name of being nice. The world senses that weakness. It tests it, it breaks it, and when it does, you call yourself a victim of fate. But Machiavelli would remind you that it was never fate. It was your refusal to see reality as it is. To awaken from this illusion, you must let go of your obsession with being seen as good. Instead, learn to be effective. Learn to be strategic. Goodness that has no power behind it is not goodness. It is naivety. The only goodness worth possessing is the kind that can enforce itself, the kind that stands tall in a world of deception and still cannot be moved. That kind of goodness is rare. It demands a sharp mind, a steady hand, and a ruthless heart. Because when you see the world clearly, you begin to understand that survival itself requires a touch of ruthlessness. Compassion without control is chaos. Mercy without measure is self-destruction. You cannot save others if you are unable to defend yourself. The illusion of goodness tells you to forgive endlessly. The reality of power tells you to protect wisely. One leads to ruin, the other to mastery. So, the question is not whether you are good or bad. The question is whether your goodness has any strength behind it. Can you be kind and still command respect? Can you forgive without being taken for granted? Can you love without being ruled by your emotions? Until you can answer yes, your goodness will always be your weakness. The world will not pity your virtue. It will exploit it. It will take from you, drain you, and discard you the moment you no longer serve its needs. That is why Machiavelli urges you to evolve beyond the illusion. It means controlling your compassion, not erasing it. The ruthless man does not lack emotion. He simply refuses to let emotion dictate his fate. He sees betrayal not as an invitation to despair, but as a lesson in human nature. He views pain not as punishment, but as proof that he still has something left to conquer. His calmness in chaos is not detachment, it is power. Consider this. The ruthless do not waste time chasing validation. They are not driven by the need to be liked. They understand that admiration is fleeting, but respect born of strength endures. The moment you stop needing others to approve of your decisions, you begin to act from true authority. The world bends to those who move without apology. It resists those who beg for understanding. When Machiavelli advised rulers to be feared rather than loved, he was not glorifying cruelty. He was revealing the psychology of power. Fear is stable, love is conditional. Fear commands loyalty in absence. Love evaporates the moment you fail to please. The ruthless mind sees beyond emotion and sentimentality. It asks one question before every decision. Does this serve my purpose? If it doesn't, it is removed, no matter how comfortable, no matter how familiar. That is why most people will never ascend to true power. They are too attached to comfort, too addicted to approval, too afraid of loss. They confuse kindness with weakness, patience with passivity, forgiveness with surrender. But Machiavelli would remind them, mercy without strength is self-destruction. The truly merciful act from a place of power, not from a place of fear. Ruthlessness is not a mask, it is discipline. It means you no longer allow your enemies to dictate your emotions or your actions. You no longer waste your energy trying to change the nature of the world. You adapt to it, master it, use it. You stop expecting people to treat you fairly because you understand that fairness is a concept for dreamers, not for strategists. You realize that in the game of survival, hesitation is betrayal to yourself. The world will test your boundaries. It will push against your limits to see where you break. The ruthless do not plead for the world to stop. They reinforce themselves to endure. Every betrayal becomes a sharpening stone, every loss a teacher, every hardship a forge. They learn to see advantage where others see defeat. That is the essence of Machiavellian resilience, to turn every wound into wisdom, every setback into strategy. When you become ruthless, you stop reacting. You start orchestrating. You become the calm force in a storm of panic. You start to move like a chess player, not a pawn. You anticipate moves, you conceal your intentions, and when you strike, you do it once, precisely, and without hesitation. People will call it coldness because they cannot comprehend control. They will label it arrogance because they cannot grasp strength. But that is the price of clarity. The more you rise above emotion, the more emotional people will resent you. Ruthlessness frees you from the illusion that everyone deserves your kindness. It teaches you to reserve your energy for those who have earned it. It teaches you that sometimes peace must be enforced, not requested.